how to fix your life, how to turn your life around, how to fix your life. That is what we're going to talk about today. But first, if you are new to this channel, every time I shoot a video, I begin with inhaling the validation that comes my way across the interwebs. To send me said validation, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell so that you can get more videos the nanosecond they come out. All other platforms, please like, comment, subscribe, do the things on the platform that will send me said validation. Okay, how to fix your life. This is basically what this whole self-improvement genre is about, right? Everyone is looking to fix their life. Everyone is looking to optimize their life. Everyone is looking to self-improve. And before you actually begin the process of trying to change your life and make it better, first, you want to understand that when it comes to your inherent worth, when it comes to the inherent level of your life, there is nothing to fix per se. Now, there are things that you definitely need to improve. There are situations and decisions that you make that are without question fundamentally bad that you can turn around. You do have screw-ups and problems to solve, but I want to make a slight distinction from the idea of needing to fix your life because it coincides a little bit too much with the direction that our society is going in and has been going in for a really long time. When it comes to the idea of fixing your life or needing to improve, you want to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You want to make sure that you're fixing your life and changing your life so that you can live a life of meaning, so that you can align yourself with your talents and strengths like I always talk about, so that you can be going on a path that's worthwhile. Now, what you don't want to do is get caught up in the idea that fixing your life has anything to do with some of the outside circumstances that society wants you to focus on. See, a lot of people feel like they're inadequate because they listen too much to the messages in society, the messages in the media that say if you don't have the right car, if you don't have the right home, if you don't have the right circumstances in your life, if you don't keep up with the Joneses, if you don't compare to your neighbor, then that's something that needs to be fixed, which is totally untrue. Now, understanding that you're coming from a level of not being deficient, but just needing to direct your life in the right way, in a way that's going to lead towards more of that meaning instead of that keeping up with the Jones garbage, then you can actually begin the process of changing your life. And one of the ways to do that is first diagnose what's going wrong in the first place, right? So a lot of us think that if we change a lot of things that are going on in our outside circumstances, that things are going to magically change for us. We think that if we get the perfect job, we're going to be happy. We think that if we move to the perfect city, we're going to be happy. We think that if we get the perfect relationship, we're going to be happy. And we think that those are the things that we need to do to fix our life. And don't get me wrong, changing a lot of your circumstances can lead to better outcomes, but before you even get to all that, you have to understand where you're coming from in the first place. I talk about this a lot in my book, You 2.0, and the book is about the process of reinventing yourself. So when it comes to reinventing yourself, I spend the majority of the beginning of the book first figuring out what's going on deep down inside of your brain, thinking about the things and experiences that you've had that have led to this point where you're at right now, right? So you have to diagnose the problem. What are some of the problems that people have often? Often you go through life and you are embedded narratives and societal scripts into your mind that you didn't consciously choose. I actually use an example in the book where I talk about the fact that if I took your same DNA and I transplanted you to a different country with different parents and different beliefs and values, you'd become someone with completely different beliefs and values. See, we think that we have this inherent intrinsic personality when in reality, we adopt narratives based on our upbringing, based on the culture that we're coming from, based on different environmental standards, and we have to first unlearn the scripts that are not being helpful and useful to us before we are able to move forward. So what are some of the things that you think about deep down? I actually have an exercise in my book where I talk about some of the deep-seated beliefs that you have, and then I actually have you go through the exercise of writing those things down and analyze some of the things that you really think, but you're not necessarily consciously aware of all the time, or they're not at the top of your mind all the time. So I talked about in the beginning, the keeping up with the Joneses mentality. We've been led to believe that happiness comes through things. We've been led to believe that we should do things like climb the corporate ladder because that means we can go plunk down a bunch of money on a down payment and be in debt for the next 30 years to own a home. It means that we can go in tens and thousands of dollars of debt to go to college to live that good lifestyle. And that's another script that I talk about in the book. This idea that traditional education is the only means with which you can be successful. That if you do not go to college, you are going to somehow end up a burger flipper or end up someone who does not have financial success. And the narratives coming from society that you should be realistic and practical, and that doing things like getting in front of a camera and talking are risky. Things like starting a writing career are risky. Things like becoming an entrepreneur are risky. When you look at these things in reality, oftentimes many of the things that are put into the practical bucket are really risky. Having one source of income at a job is quite risky if you lose that income. Contrast that with being an entrepreneur or somebody who has multiple streams, which takes a little bit to get started, but it's actually less risky to build up multiple streams of income. Putting down a bunch of money on a home and getting into tens and thousands of hundreds of dollars of debt for a home, for a car note, for student loans and credit cards. These things are all perfectly considered realistic and practical. But if you're in a situation where you lose that practical and realistic job, all of a sudden your debts are going to eat you alive. Contrast this with somebody who is doing something risky like starting a side hustle, doing something on the side which carries little to no inherent risk, or they could build it up to something that has a lot of upside. So you're basically being fed these scripts for a reason. See, these are the things that you have to think about when you're diagnosing the problems that are going on in your life. Oftentimes, the problems that are going on in your life are psychological. They are psychological narratives that you have been adopted and fed to by other people, by institutions in our society. Now, you look at the institutions in our society, education system, the government, the media. I actually have a chapter about this in my book. All of these different entities have an incentive to keep you obedient and behaving like everyone else. I think the major problem that people have with their life is that they've been indoctrinated into this societal script so much that they greatly overestimate the difficulty of unplugging from the matrix. They genuinely see the things that I'm doing, things that other people are doing, people who are aligned with their strengths, who are finding their passion, who are living lives of meaning, and it looks so far outside, so beyond the pale, because you've essentially been brainwashed into thinking a different way. So that's an exercise that you could do. Write down all of the things that you tend to believe for no other reason than you kind of just believe them, and then examine whether or not they're true. Find counter examples that prove, or rather disprove, the theory that you have. Think about some of the alternatives to the beliefs that you have. Think if you could maybe be wrong. See, that's another thing that makes it so difficult to quote unquote fix your life. A lot of people would rather live a bad life that they can have more certainty in and make sense of. A lot of people would rather live a less than stellar life as long as more or less they can predict what's going to happen each and every day. This is what happens to people in life. This is what happens in their careers. This is what happens in relationships. Why do people stay in relationships for so long when they know that they're not meant to be with that person? Comfort, familiarity. The devil you know is better than the one you don't. So oftentimes people just don't want to shake up their life and reinvent themselves because Your identity is tied to what you do. Your identity is tied to your investments. So each time you invest time, money, resources, energy into something, the harder it is to want to change, because you've built an identity around being this person. Every time that you have a problem in your life, it's almost always tied to the fact that you've built an identity around that person. And it's very hard to let go of that identity, even if it's terrible. Like if you consider yourself a lazy person, this is an identity that I used to carry. I used to carry the identity around that, you know, I had intelligence and things like that, but I was just kind of a lazy guy. I never thought of myself as someone who could bring themselves to be organized in any capacity or follow through with anything. But then, like I've always talked about, I aligned myself with something that I was good at, writing and communicating. And then after that, I started to change my identity. I let go of the identity of being a loser. That, as comfortable as it felt to kind of sit in that, I knew that wasn't what my life was going to turn out to be. So then I made a conscious decision to change my life. And that's pretty much what it comes down to, guys. This is all about making a conscious decision. So after you diagnose the problems that you're having in your life, diagnose the scripts that you are living by, the narratives that you are living by, after you diagnose what's going on deep down, could be confidence issues, could be experiences in your life where you've tried and failed before, experiences where the people in your life didn't treat you well, or they shaped you to have a certain identity that you just clung to because that's what you became known for. That's what you came to know as your life. After you go through that period where you're diagnosing the problems, the next point just comes to making a conscious decision. I've talked about this pretty much in every video. I think I'm going to use this phrase probably in every single video that I shoot. Nobody can fill the thought between, or excuse me, nobody can fill the gap between thought and action. I can't make you do anything. Nobody can make you do anything. So at best, we can come from all these different angles and give you insights that could help you make that first step. And really, one of the first step is get rid of so much of this emotional baggage. Get rid of just think about why you need to feel all of these feelings of inadequacy all the time. Why do you need to look down on yourself so much? Why do you need to beat yourself up so much? Why do you need to have this negative self-talk and self-doubt so much? Why can't you just do the thing? Why can't you just do the thing that you know you want to do? Why can't you just open up the computer, start typing? Why can't you just shoot the video? Why can't you just pick up the phone, make that sales call? Why can't you just start investigating that new career and working on it a little bit on the side and interviewing people in the career you want and reaching out to people on LinkedIn? Like, the world is open to you. Nobody is holding you back except for yourself, and you know that. The process of fixing your life is really understanding that most of your problems are occurring at a deep psychological and perceptual level. Really, you want to focus on changing your perception, because your perception dictates what your reality is going to be. I mean, if you look at everything that we have in our world, all of our inventions, buildings, cars, these are all concepts that came from someone's mind before they existed. Reality comes from the mind, and your reality comes from your mind. But your mind has been skewed with all of the indoctrination, with all of the narratives, with all of the experiences and your friends and your family and your peers and the media and everyone telling you how your life is supposed to be. You have to live your life. And you just let go of the baggage. It's not necessarily, there's nothing so bad in your life that you are like broken and you don't need fixing. You don't need your life to be fixed. You need to understand what's going on mentally, and then you need to by identifying your talents and strengths, orient yourself in the right direction, right? That's all it is. All you got to do is get the aiming mechanism in the right place. First, identify the strengths. Second, unravel the BS in your head. Realize you're just kind of full of it and that you're capable of doing it. B, face your fear. You're pointed in the direction of the thing you're most afraid of. The thing you're most afraid of is the thing you're supposed to be doing. And that is the mechanism with which you are going to experience those mythical feelings of passion and purpose and love of your craft and love of your work and vocation and all of this stuff. All this stuff is pretty simple. We know that. And I shoot these videos over and over again because I do know how hard it is to get the messages to sink in. I know how hard it is to actually act on the information and take action. And I know how hard it is just to wrestle with your inner demons every day. Like, you just look at yourself and it's so weird. We're so self-centered, but we are self-centered and think of ourselves at the center of the universe, but then we don't actually like do anything useful for ourselves. So we're overly preoccupied with ourselves without actually helping. Like, if you're going to be overly preoccupied with yourself, at least help yourself. If you're going to put yourself in the center of the movie, be the hero, be the protagonist, right? You got this. Like, I don't need to know you to know that your inherent worth is equal to everyone else. I don't need to know you personally to know that you have some sort of talent or strength. I don't need to know you personally to know that the root of your problem is basically the process of needing to unlearn a lot of the scripts that you have in your mind. And I don't need to know you personally to know that with consistent action you can change your life. So that's how to fix your life. First step, understand that nothing needs to be fixed. You are enough. Okay! Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the little notification bell. All other platforms, please interact with me. If you're on YouTube, look in the links below in the comments, description section. I have links to books. I have links to join my email list and get a free Monday motivational message by email. Links to all my socials where I post all sorts of different content. It's going to help you get in the direction that you want to go. All right. I'll see you in the next video.